I'm Jerry Ashton. I'm the founder of a 501c3 private foundation called End Veteran Debt, endveterandebt.org. And this came about because number one, I'm a veteran. Number two, very few people are aware of the fact that veterans are practically underwater, too many of them, from debt of various kinds. And my desire is to see that this debt is lifted off their backs. I do have a track record in that area. I co-founded a 501c3 charity called RIP Medical Debt in 2014 with a partner in my industry, which was the collections industry. His name was Craig Antico. So Craig and Antico and I, in 2014, prior to that, had been involved with Occupy Wall Street. I don't know how much you know about Occupy Wall Street, but it was a pretty exciting place to be at that time. And I live maybe 3 or 4 subway stops up from Zuccotti Park where this was taking place. And being a former Navy journalist, the first thing I wanted to do was grab my pen and a camera and start documenting what it is that I saw. So when I went down there, I made the mistake of listening. They had something to say, and not all of it was good, and every bit of it needs to be heard. And that is, America is not living up to its promise, and in particular, of the many ways in which it's failing its citizenry, it's in the arena of medical debt. Medical debt. Over 60% of all bankruptcies in the United States derive in some fashion from medical debt. Medical debt creates losses of homes, losses of jobs, break up in families. And it's something that in a modern industrial nation of our size, it's unbelievable that we would allow our citizens to go bankrupt just because they got sick or because they got hurt. So I'm not sure how your show works, but do you have a question about that right now? Or do I just talk on? Well, it looks like I'm talking on. So let me tell you more about our problem in America and the solutions we have. Because the good news is, as bad as that information is, we have, what should we say, a silver lining on that cloud?
Okay, if that's what we're going to name it, then yeah.
Good. Well, that silver lining is that 10 years ago in 2014, when we started our charity, nobody talked about medical debt.
Mm.
It wasn't heard of. Today, you can't open up a newspaper, you can't watch TV without medical debt coming in. And
Absolutely.
I immodestly, Craig Antico and I take credit for having brought that to America's attention, because that's what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of medical healthcare ruins people credit. The hospital bills and the fees, and it's astronomical to the point people can't afford it. Not to mention that prescription medicine. So it all comes into play. So you having the foresight to start this is incredible.
Well,
So
we can give Occupy a lot of credit for that, because they were the one that was attempting to do its best to get this out in front of the America's public.
hmm
When I wandered down there, they discovered that there was a bill collector in their midst. And they thought that was a pretty good idea, because who better than a bill collector to be able to work with in order to bring this to national attention.
hmm
So Craig and I, Antico and I, proceeded to become the back office, quote unquote, for Occupy Wall Street when it started a charity called the Rolling Jubilee.
mm,
And what the Rolling Jubilee did is they set themselves up as a 501c4 charity
hmm
corporation, which does not allow its donors to take that off their taxes
Mm,
because they're politically oriented.
exactly.
Because they wanted to get out the word. They wanted to get people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
So Greg and I, since we had suits we could wear and we knew the debt market, we could go to the debt market where your debt and my debt, whether it be medical debt, credit card debt, payday loan debt, whatever it is, that's bought and sold in that industry called uh, uh, debt collection buyers.
Mm.
And the buyers buy that debt in bulk from your credit card companies and everybody else that has given up on trying to chase you down for your debt.
Mm-hmm.
Sell that to debt buyers who then sell it to collection agencies.
Wow.
And when collection agencies get that debt, when they come after you, they might have bought it for a nickel on the dollar,
Yeah,
but they're coming back to you for 100 pennies on the dollar. And then
absolutely. Yeah, that's how they make their money. Yeah.
yep, that's
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Loan sharks.
No, they're debt sharks.
Yeah.
They come after the loan shark.
Yeah. Yeah. Debt sharks. Yeah, absolutely.
Debt sharks.
Yeah.
So when we saw this, and we thought we would step in and get between the debt sellers and the collection agencies, our money was just as good as their money.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew the industry by name, but they knew us. So we were able to buy debt for the rolling jubilee. And they proceeded in the next couple of years to abolish something like $30 million worth of debt of all kinds, but primarily medical.
Mm.
And then, of course, Occupy began to dissipate. They closed the park down.
Mm-hmm.
And Occupy folks came up to me and Craig Antico and said, we're closing down this operation. We're going to go in another direction. Which, by the way, was a good direction. It was student loan debt.
Okay.
But Craig and I looked at each other and we said, we can't let that happen. we were hooked. We read the letters from the people whose debt was abolished. We knew what we took off of people's backs.
Yeah.
So we looked at each other and we said, we can't let this happen. And in January 2014, we founded RIP Medical Debt, Rest in Peace Medical Debt.
Okay.
Began to starve to death for the next couple of years.
Yeah, that happens when you do a startup.
Oh, it's terrible, especially a charitable startup.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who you are, and nobody knows about what you're doing and what's medical debt anyway.
Yeah.
But we were lucky
Mm-hmm.
because we were discovered.
Mm-hmm.
Discovered by a man by the name of John Oliver. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't, and I apologize. I haven't.
Well,
Is he a director in Hollywood?
No, he
Okay.
has an organization called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. It's on HBO.
Okay. Okay.
And he's a comedian.
Ah.
And somebody on his production team thought it would be a pretty good idea to make fun of debt collectors.
Mm.
For a purpose. What they wanted to do is they were going to position this stint, which is a half-hour show, once a week.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to position John Oliver as the new queen of daytime TV to replace Oprah.
Okay. Did it work?
It did for this because what they did is they said, what we'll do is Oprah, if you remember, gave away $7 million worth of cars once upon a time.
Yes. You get a car. You get a car. I saw that
That's
show.
right. Nobody can
I was
forget
hoping
that.
I was going to get a car. Yeah, remember that one.
Well, you had to be in that audience.
Yeah.
So they decided they were going to out Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
And they heard about the debt market and they heard you could buy medical debt. So they went out with HBO's money and for 60 grand or so, they bought $15 million worth of medical debt in Texas.
Wow.
And because they set themselves up as a collection agency over the internet in Mississippi, which he says, by the way, is the best way to visit Mississippi. So they set up their show, their corporation, Central Asset Recovery Program or something like that, CARP. You know, the bottom bottom feeding fish.
Uh-huh.
So they set up carp, and they let the industry know that they were interested in buying debt so they could collect on it. And
Ah.
they were approached by debt sellers.
Mm-hmm.
They proceeded to buy this debt, $50 million worth of medical debt. And that is what John Oliver was going to give away.
Mm.
That's,
Mm.
well, so far so good, except for one thing.
What?
Comedians don't forgive debt. And so as part of the program, they had to search around and find a charity that would actually be legitimately able to
receive it,
take that debt and forgive it with no tax consequences to the debtor.
Ah.
So they called us up. We met. We went down to HBO headquarters, sat around the table with the producers and the attorneys, and made sure that we knew what we were doing, which we did. We did. And we shook hands, and 2 weeks later, the show aired.
Wow.
So my wife and I are sitting in our apartment. That's right here, by the way.
I can tell.
Sitting in front of that TV over there.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And we
are you in New York?
Yes.
Yeah, because I heard the sirens going.
Yeah, that's New York.
Yes, it is.
Hate it. So my wife and I had a split of champagne between us, sitting with glasses that just in case he mentioned the name RIP Medical Debt, we'd celebrate.
Wow.
Well, the program is a half hour. In the first 20 minutes, he's just running the collection and debt buying industry up and down the flag.
Uh-huh.
Deservedly so. Okay. And then finally he gets to the point where he's going to out Oprah, and he tells the audience that what he's going to do is he's going to give away, for forgiveness purposes, $15 million worth of people's debt, medical debt. And then he says, "Are you ready to do that?" And the audience says, "Yes."
Uh-huh.
And he says, "We're going to do it through a 501c3 charity called RIP Medical Debt, and our logo appears above his shoulder."
Wow.
And then he goes over to the big red button. He hits the big red button. Money comes down from the ceiling, and our website crashes.
It was overwhelmed with excitement.
Overwhelmed with, who are these people? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And from that point forward, we never had to worry about money.
Wow.
Because once people, this is how the process of the generosity of Americans comes in.
Yeah.
Number one, if they don't know about you, they can't do anything about you.
That's true.
That's just like any enterprise. It's like your show. As wonderful your show is, if nobody hears about it,
then how can they help?
That's right.
Yeah. It's exposure. Yeah.
It's exposure.
Yeah.
So that was my first clue that the thing that's most necessary is awareness. He made America aware of us, and which meant that money started floating in over the transom, and board members show up and partners show up. And I can tell you that between then and now, our charity has abolished over $12 billion worth of medical debt for almost 8 million Americans. So first they got to get to know about you, and then it has to touch you. And of course, what isn't touching about wanting to help somebody out of a problem like that? Awareness touches you, and then they got educated, and they went to our website, and we'd written a book called End Medical Debt, and there were articles and there were interviews with us. So they did their homework to find out that we were real. And then once somebody is aware and they're touched and they're educated, there's only one thing left to do, and that's action.
That's it.
And that action has affected positively the lives of millions of Americans.
Yeah.
So, but we're not here to talk about that today.
Well, but we are, because you are basically explaining how something starts grassroots and takes legs.
Yes, takes legs.
Yes, but the whole strategic plan was about purpose.
Well, what's interesting is that we never planned on that.
Right. It was
It
about
happened, it
purpose.
happened to us.
Yes.
And we were educated in retrospect. What just happened? Oh, people became aware of us.
Mm-hmm.
What just happened?
Mm-hmm.
People care.
Mm-hmm.
What just happened? You need to educate them.
Mm-hmm.
What just happened? Money
Mm-hmm.
came in.
Yeah.
So that's the joy that I can speak from. And that,
Yeah.
as I said, fits everybody. But today, what we've done is Craig Antico retired to create his own organization called ForgiveCo,
Mm-hmm.
which is a public benefit corporation.
Okay.
Public benefit corporations are more interested in the stakeholder as a
Mm.
shareholder.
Okay.
So when they bring money in, more money goes out to taking care of what their mission is, as opposed to fattening the investors up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and he's created a system around that of purchasing debt and abolishing debt,
Mm.
because that's my buddy. That's what he does.
Wow.
In my turn, I retired to create, uh, first of all, an organization called um, Let's Rethink This, and what doesn't need rethinking.
Okay.
And that was to prepare me in the way that we're putting all this together so that we can serve other organizations in getting that awareness and attention.
Mm.
Then out of that, I discovered that there was a VA program, Better Administration program, called Mission Daybreak.
Mm.
And the big thing about Mission Daybreak was that they were going to offer, for competition purposes, $20 million to anybody who had come up with a unique way in which to reduce veteran suicide.
Wow. So needed. Oh my God. It's so needed.
Sony, let me talk about that for a minute.
Please.
Very few people understand the depths of despair and problems that lead to suicidal ideation that leads to the act itself.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the obvious ones: homelessness, PTSD, brain trauma, loss of a marriage, loss of a job, loss of a home. Very few people realize that debt is almost always in that world. Either it happens before the problem,
Yep.
it happens during the problem, or it
Yeah.
happens after the problem.
Yeah.
It's the residue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what that means is that by the best calculations that we've done, that people have come up with, roughly 40 veterans a day, male and female, will commit that final act of self-desperation.
Yeah.
40 a day.
Yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately, that's true.
yes. Well, so when I discovered that, and I'd already been working with veteran organizations,
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'm going to enter that contest. So I got a couple of other people to enter the contest with me as Let's Rethink This.
Mm-hmm.
And 1,371 organizations went into competition. Would you like to know how many people were selected?
I would love to know.
40.
Out of 1,000?
1,371.
Okay. 1,371. Only 40 were selected?
Yes,
Why?
we were not one of them. Because, well, that's too complicated. If people will write me, jerry@endveterandebt.org, I'll be happy to explain that.
Okay.
What you know is that motivated me to reach out to other losers, the people who were not selected. I said, let's have a second chance at a first impression. So that's why we created the charity End Veteran Debt and Veteran Mission Possible, veteranmissionpossible.com
Uh-huh.
and veterandebt.org. And what's our purpose is to get everybody together
Mm-hmm.
to go out and do a major campaign called Operation Debt Day.
That day. Okay.
Does a calendar of June 6th mean to you, that date?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I know it means, is it D-Day?
That is, you're right on target.
Well, what a heck of a producer I am. Oh
You are
boy.
great. Well, that was 80 years ago. Are you
Yeah.
aware? On June 6th this year, that was 80 years ago. So
Yeah.
we're dedicated to raising enough money to abolish $1 million worth of veteran debt for each of those 80 years.
Wow. Mr.
And we're
Jerry, you are awesome.
gonna,
I'm
well,
serious. You're phenomenal. I'm serious.
it's our intention. And
Yeah.
we need partners, we need donors, we need sponsors. And we'd love to talk to your station about that, by the way, to
Yeah.
go on this nationally. And
Mm-hmm.
give you an idea how great this is.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it takes to buy $1 million worth of veteran debt and take it off their backs?
How much?
$30,000.
That's all?
That's all.
Mr. Jerry, are you serious? 30,000 erases 1 million?
That's right.
How is that possible, Mr. Jerry? Seriously.
Because this is debt. Now, when a veteran gets debt, it's everything from debt of necessity, which
Mm.
putting tires on the car, putting
Mm-hmm.
food on the table,
Mm-hmm.
having up his credit card,
Okay.
overpriced debt,
Consolidation. I get it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
payday lender, the car notes. These people, predatory,
Mm-hmm.
that lend that money with a pretty good idea that they charge so much money that even if the veteran goes under, they're still going to get some of their money back.
Wow.
So that debt is sold into the debt collections industry through debt buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Antico and I are partnered.
Mm-hmm.
We raise the money. He
Mm-hmm.
takes that money, goes to the industry,
Mm-hmm.
buys that debt on our behalf and on our donors' behalf so that we can legitimately forgive it. That's what we're doing. That's what we're asking your audience to listen up to.
Okay. So it's my pleasure, Mr. Jerry, to welcome you and Veteran Desk and your colleagues to this show officially as a sponsoring partnership programming show so you can do exactly what you want to across the world. Yes. You asked for it, now you got it. We're going to have some fun together because that's the best news I've heard all day long. To help a veteran in its debts, to pay down its bills, and yeah, what better thing can you give a person other than a fresh new start? Oh my God. Yeah. Why file bankruptcy when you don't have to because you got in veteran debt right here? Oh, Mr. Jerry, you are Santa Claus all over, I tell you.
We are Santa Claus.
You're Santa Claus in August, I tell you. Yeah, you are. What a blessing from God you are, truly. I am looking forward to doing whatever it takes to meet you, your partners, and program whatever is need to get the information and resources to the audience so that you can help them eliminate their debts. Because why? They put the boots on, they took an oath of honor to serve this country, and they should live a decent life without worrying about debt if they don't have to. Absolutely. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, my dear.
No, thank you, sir. I'm serious from the bottom of my heart. This is a blessing. Yes, it is.
To give you an idea of the population you'll be reaching out to,
Yes, sir.
there are roughly 20 million veterans in America.
Mm-hmm.
That's only about 6% of our population.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1% of our population has ever put on a uniform over all the years on average.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think you're taking care of those folks and their families, that's exactly what your station and your donors and your listeners will be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's a 40 million population if you consolidate the totality of retired, active, and family members. It's 40 million easily.
Yes.
And it's a niche market, Mr. Jerry, that has really not been tapped into, has been underserved, undermarketed, underrepresented. So America's Heroes Group, my partner, my godfather, and I, co-founder, Mr. Governor Talk Radio, Cliff Kelley, the one and only, we started this show 2016, our first show in April.
Wow.
Yeah. We did not go live social media until 2020 because it was a slow walk. Like you said, when you're first getting started, nobody knows you. Nobody wants seriously. And then our first show with our partner, Jesse Brown, VA. I remember that, September 2020. We launched our first podcast, October 2020. And as of today, the podcast downloads less than 4 years ago, 5,837,000 and some numbers. We are in 1,152 cities. We are in 72 countries. We have 113,000 YouTube subscribers, and we are growing just like that. Because why? The show is about resources and information. It's about making sure that family members, active members, veterans, and others are connected to information that empowers them. Because once you understand and you know what you're looking for, you can then make an intelligent, informed decision. So that's what the grounds of the Foundation of America's Heroes Group is about. That's where it is. After that, it does not matter to me. Because we're 501c3. So guess what? I don't give a damn about your politics. I care about your results. I care about if these veterans and the military family members know what they need to know to do what they need to do to get what they need to get. I care about housing. I care about food. I care about benefits. I care about what's needed for them. That's what this show is about. So thank you, sir, for joining us in this fight.
Thank you. I feel like I have an army behind me.
Yeah, you do. You have a partner, and his
And
name
the
American
Navy,
Heroes
too.
Group.
Army and Navy and Air Force and Marines.
There you go. There you go.
All of our buddies.
All veterans matter. Period. Blessings.
Thank you, dear.